All right, thank you for that, Mike. Well, the U.S. economy expanded at a much faster pace in the first 3 months of the year than previously estimated, but is a recession still in sight? And are we headed for a Richcession? And what does that mean anyway? Well, Professor Dietrich von Biedenfeld with the University of Houston downtown is here to tell us and explain it all to us. How are you?
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Thanks for being here. What in the world is going on with our economy right now?
We're still seeing a lot of this residual economic theory being thrown out of the window. We're saying, wait a second, we wanted to slow down economic growth to slow down inflation, but the reality is that maybe growth in the markets and the economy can actually help us reduce inflation. The Fed interest rates, they did a pause in June, which was much anticipated, but then they're talking about hiking those interest rates again through the end of the year to push it even towards 6%.
And there are terms here that I feel like if I just think about it, I can figure out what it means, but I'd love to hear from you. Richcession, what does that mean?
This is a new term coined. I don't believe in it. It's sort of like trickle-down economics. In theory, it sounds great, but in reality, we don't really see it meted out because the wealthy have very diversified portfolios, and if you have to sell the summer home in the Hamptons, it's not going to be a problem. So the idea in a Richcession is that the wealthy will be impacted greatly and more sort of presently than poorer economies. Not possible, right? It just doesn't happen. I think we are seeing middle-income people, such as software developers, being laid off. Yeah, $200,000 a year at Twitter, $300,000 at Meta is more than any professor or any 12 professors I work with make. But that's still middle income and middle upper income, and so those aren't really wealthy people with champagne dreams and caviar wishes and all that good stuff. They're not going to make that $50 million Robin Leach threshold.
Exactly.
So that idea, I think we can toss and say that upper middle class people in technical jobs are going to be looking for work through the year.
Yeah, they're hurting. Okay, what about rolling recession?
This is just an idea that different areas of the economy will be impacted at different times, and that you may have areas of stress in one area but not in others. We see this with nursing shortages and home health care nurses shortages because our population is aging. So we do see that, but we also see it with restaurant workers and chefs. So when restaurants are saying we got to cut costs because eggs, unfortunately they're down again, but eggs rising or steaks are increasing, those demands for workers and wage pressures can increase that demand, where some of the jobs of the future, petroleum engineering and software development, we're seeing layoffs. The tech industry has had the largest percentage of layoffs that we've seen really overall in this multi-$100,000 person layoff of 2023. AI technicians are moving up, but software developers are moving down.
So of those three that we've talked about, the different types, do you feel like the last one that you talked about is the one that seems to be the biggest concern for us? It's affecting the most people? Right.
And when we talk about that soft landing, we're trying to cycle things down in a way that is distributed, where we don't have that whiplash of hitting the brakes on the economy with these high interest rates, but we also don't allow it to go careening into the wall of high inflation or hyperinflation. So right now we are most worried about the rolling recession and the idea of how we can control those different areas.
I always love your percentages. What do you have going on over here?
So we're down, fortunately, from that 9.1%, and the target for the Fed we know is 2%, and so we're around 4%. So we're a little below the halfway mark on some of those concerns. So that's an impressive thing. But then some of the areas where people think about Richcessions, if you're not buying a private jet, you're probably not in the uber wealthy area. So don't worry about that. We're still having housing shortages. Vehicle purchases, we're still struggling with the used car market because of financing and interest rates. So these are going to be some areas of transportation that come into play. And transportation, of course, summer travel. Some of these deals that we're seeing on the airlines aren't really being matched with the infrastructure of those airlines. So we're having labor shortages there. And of course, the airport problems we've seen are compounding that.
Well, and we're lucky to have gas prices so low for the people who are traveling this summer. Of course, the oil companies don't appreciate that. But what about food prices? Are we seeing those come down any at all yet?
We are seeing select areas of food prices, but we got to worry about that bullwhip effect, where farmers produce less because they're not getting the same profit margins. And so then we get that cycle. And so that undulating, the prices rise, okay, we're going to produce more cattle or more wheat, but we still have to worry about Ukraine. The breadbasket of Europe is still in turmoil, and you have to reap before you can sow, so some of that sort of market pressure is going to increase. Same with fuel and the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We're still below where we need to be, and so that's got to be repurchased over the next few years.
Well, I can tell you're good at your job. You always just walk us through it very clearly, so way to go, Professor. Thanks for your time from University of Houston downtown.
Thank you.
Always nice to have you here.